You're listening to the Every Student, Every Day podcast with me, Jim Franchini, Superintendent of the Averill Park Central School District. Welcome to this episode of the Every Student, Every Day podcast. We are back this episode with a yearly favorite, and that is our episode with our retirees. We are extremely fortunate to have a really outstanding group of people join us today to talk about their experiences in their career and in the district and what's next as they move on. So we'll get right into it. We'll have everyone just to give a little introduction about themselves, tell us, what you teach, what your roles in the district, how many years you've been here, all those type of questions. So everyone gets an idea of who you are. So Melissa, why don't you start us off?
Sure. I'm Melissa Weatherwax. I started my career actually as a substitute in the district. I subbed mostly at Post and Kill for 2 years before becoming a TA in special education, and then went into a classroom and taught 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade at Post and Kill. So I've been here a total of 30 years.
Great. Thank you, Melissa, for joining us. Kathy.
Oh, well, I started actually at George Washington School, and I taught grades 4 and 5. I was departmentalized. I taught ELA and social studies. And then I came over to Post and Kill, and I taught just 4th grade here. I've been teaching for 35 years, 33 in the district. Wonderful years, wonderful years. Best job ever, I always say.
Great. Thank you, Kathy, for joining us. Denis Sibson.
Certainly. So I'm Denis Sibson, and I was actually hired in 1996 to fill a first semester maternity leave for a social studies teacher at Algonquin Middle School. And here I am 29 plus years later. I had a wonderful teaching experience at Algonquin, a great mentorship as the assistant principal there for a couple of years, and then came to Miller Hill 20 years ago. And like Kathy, I agree. It's been a wonderful ride. Unlike most people, I didn't dream of becoming a teacher. It just kind of happened in my early 20s. So been a good ride.
Great. Thank you, Denis. Lorna Otty.
Hey, I'm Lorna Otty. I work in the main office in the high school. I'm a typist assigned to a secretary with administrators. So I help with the regents and referrals and all of the things that they need help with on the assistant principal level.
Great.
And I've
Thank
been
you.
there 23 years.
Thank you, Lorna. And joining us today from the senior picnic, Medici and Bray, Engel.
Good morning. I'm Medici, and I've been working for the district for 25 years. I started off at the high school. I did half of days at the Algonquin and half days at the high school. I teach phys ed, and I also have taught American Sign Language for the school district. And I coach.
Oh, this is me. I'm Bray. And let's see, I've been teaching 34 years, the last 27 at Averill Park. I got into teaching because I was a coach first, and that just kind of fit with my schedule, and then went from there. I spent my first 13 years teaching alternative ed, the next 6 teaching the freshman seminar program, and the last 8 in the English department.
Great. Thank you again for joining us, everyone. So Denis kind of hit it upon this already. What made you all get into the profession to begin with? What was that kind of initial spark that led you down this career path? Denis, why don't you start on this one, if you would?
Sure. So as I mentioned, my dream wasn't necessarily to be an educator. I got kind of a late start with college. I had some skiing out west that I had to get out of my system, I guess you could say. So once I did start going to college here at Siena, and actually Schenectady County Community College first, I was obviously, I guess, what you would consider the non-traditional student. I was older, and other students in the class, I was a history major, and other students in the class would come to me for assistance in understanding some of the content. So it just, the whole love of teaching just kind of evolved from that. So it really kind of started at the college level for me.
I wasn't as lucky as Denis. I didn't wait till my 20s, and I did not do all the skiing then. So I just always wanted to be a teacher from the time I can remember, as long as I can remember. I dabbled with the idea of going into law for a little bit, but it's in my blood, in my family. So this has been my calling for as long as I can remember.
Kathy, how about you?
Okay, so my inspiration started back in elementary school. I loved my elementary teachers. I thought they were the bee's knees. I loved everything about them. I loved their classroom. They inspired me. I loved how they set up their classroom. I loved how they put stickers on my paper. And thank goodness my mom and dad, they gave me the best gift ever. They gave me a chalkboard. I think when I was 6 years old. I still have it. It's in my garage right now. It's a Raggedy Ann and Andy chalkboard. And every day I would come home and I would play school, and I would set up my basement as a school room. So I have to say that it was from the very, very beginning that I knew I wanted to become a teacher. And I was so, so inspired by the great teachers that I had growing up.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. Lorna, what got you here to Averill Park?
I at one point always thought I'd be a teacher, but as I got older, I took the accounting route and got my bachelor's in accounting. And I was looking for jobs, and then I married my husband, who was Air Force. So we traveled all over. We ended up back here, and someone told me, why don't you apply to be a sub in the district? Because it's great when you have a kid and you're off with them. So that's what I did. And eventually they called to ask me to work in the main office in the high school. And I worked all over. I worked in GW. Kathy was lucky enough to have Kevin for 2 years in a row. And so I did that. I worked in the kitchen. I worked as an aide in every building except the high school. And I ended up, when the person before me left, I applied for this job and got it. So that's why I'm here. As Ellen Caverly used to always say, it's a job of convenience, especially for moms. So that's why I'm here.
Great. Thank you, Lorna. Bray, how about you?
So I come from a long line of educators. My great-grandmother was a teacher. My grandfather was a board president for 24 years. My dad was an teacher and administrator, and I never wanted to be a teacher. When I graduated college, my old athletic director talked me into coming back and coaching a team that he was going to have to cancel, and I agreed, and I started subbing from there and coaching more and subbing more, and it just turned into a full-time deal. I don't know. Somehow I ended up in teaching. I got very lucky that I found something I love to do.
Great. Thank you, Bray. And Ann, how about you?
I didn't originally start off to go into education either. I had some amazing educators growing up. As a matter of fact, one of my former teachers, my father had passed away when I was 19. He actually walked me down the aisle. So I had some great influence from educators all throughout my education. I actually thought for a little while about becoming a nun because my sister was a nun, but that didn't last very long. And I started off as an occupational therapist. But as I went after 1 year through occupational therapy, I decided that I really wanted to be in a classroom working with kids, and I wanted to be able to be outdoors and use my athletic ability. So I decided to go into phys ed. And that's how I got into education, just from influences from other people and wanting to have time off with my kids and stuff like that.
Great. Thank you, Ann. So moving on to our next question, can you talk to us as a group about how the profession and how schools have changed just during your career? We have, decades of experience here. How have things changed over time?
Well, I can start if that's okay. My own children are in their late 20s. So if you go back 20 years, when I was raising, elementary school aged children of my own, the use of the cell phones and social media and everything like that was just kind of on the precipice of starting and quite honestly taking over society and kids' attentions and that kind of thing. So I guess what I would say is parenting today is probably far more challenging than it was even 20 years ago. And when we, then bring the children into a school environment, a classroom of 20 other like-minded, like-aged children, it's tough to, I guess it's tough to keep the focus on learning sometimes, because there's just a whole lot else that's happening in the minds of children. So I think that, to me, is a tremendous challenge for the education profession.
I think along the lines of what you're saying with cell phones and everything, Denis, when I started teaching, I had a desktop computer that was enormous, and it was not connected to anything but the power in the wall. And so I'll never forget when my grade book went down and the hard drive went, and we were, in big trouble. And now we are so incredibly connected. So students didn't have devices at that point. Teachers barely had devices. And so, I did have a tiny little printer with one of the dot matrix printers on my desk. So I really didn't have room for much else. And so from there, obviously things are very, very different today.
Melissa, I'm just going to go off of that and say technology is big. From when I first started to now, the devices in the classroom, what these children can do with these devices and what's available to them is unbelievable. So definitely technology has been a big change. I also have to say that a big change was with state tests. I have corrected many, many state tests, whether it was in 4th grade, 5th grade with the writing test, the social studies test. And then do you remember when we had the big push for the ELA test and the math test, and when there were 3 days? Oh my goodness gracious. And then we have the new standards. So I really think that's a big change also, some things.
I think many of us, when you're talking about technology, many of us here used to watch the Jetsons. And now we're living the Jetsons. That's crazy to me.
That's right. You're right.
Well, we don't have a Rosie. But I do agree with the technology. You're talking to someone that didn't even see a computer till they were in their 30s. So, and I know we didn't even have email when I started.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a nice thing to have, to be able to reach out to people instead of put notes in their boxes and things like that can get lost. So yeah, technology, I think, is a big thing.
Bray and Ann, do you have anything to add? We're going to go more conversational. You kind of missed that intro. So instead of calling people, letting people just to kind of jump in. So on that question of how has it changed, anything you would like to add?
We were just thinking the same thing as far as technology. We were remembering when we first started, we would take attendance and we'd have to stick a written attendance sheet in the outside of our door, and a monitor walk around and collect it to find out who was absent those days. As far as me in the classroom, we don't do a whole lot with technology all the time, but we do have a little bit. And I do notice the phones too have been a big thing for the kids. So it's definitely technology is the big change. What about you, Bray?
I think the one thing I've noticed the last few years especially is the kids are a lot less independent and less accountable for themselves and what goes on. I don't necessarily think either of those is a good thing, but I think we've kind of created this beast where everything's done for them, and there's safety nets for everything. So I don't know that that's going to be the most popular view, but that's kind of what I see.
No, I can see that too, Bray, because I can see when I was in school, if we didn't have pencil and paper, you didn't take notes that day, and now they get their pencil and paper if they don't have it. So yeah, that I do agree with you on that.
A lot of experience, and things have changed certainly over time with our students. The technology is all great points. Switching to your favorite memories and what you'll miss most. What are your thoughts on that when you look back at a very long, successful career? Favorite memory and the things that you'll really miss the most. Anyone want to start?
I'll jump in with this. Yeah, I'll jump in with this one, Jim. My most favorite memory, I I would have to say is we had a student here, Christopher Conway, who was in a wheelchair, and he and I trained, and I pushed him in a 5K race so that he could earn his varsity letter at the high school his senior year. And that's something like that I'll never, ever forget. It's been a very fond memory of mine. And I'm going to just give you two more quick memories. Another one was a student bumped into me and a friend having lunch at the Lakeview and said, Mrs. Medici, do you remember I was the worst student? And I said, oh, Erin, you were far from my worst student. And she turned to my friend, she said, Mrs. Medici used to do mornings with Medici at the end of the school year. I never would have graduated if she didn't do mornings with Medici. She used to make us run up Ghetto Road and sing, we're the girls who cut PE. Now we run with Medici. It was really a funny memory. So I have that one too. And then softball, winning the state championship was a huge, huge thing. So it was pretty cool. And now my husband has a state championship. So we're both retiring with a state championship under our belt. It was kind of cool.
I'll jump in. So I guess I also, like Ann, I have a couple. I think the hard part is I've had 2 lives here at Averill Park. I would have to say that one of my absolute favorite memories at Post and Kill was in 3rd grade, our students would study countries from around the world. And we would culminate with a massive travel expo that filled the cafeteria. Students would dress up in custom or native clothing. They would bring foods in. It was a really big deal. It's kind of fun to see some of my former students in their 20s, and they could still sing all the songs that they performed those days. So that was definitely a highlight. And in the current role that I have, my absolute hands down favorite memories are from AP Transforms, a professional development day that we've been able to pull off 3 times in my 10-year role in this job. And it was exhausting to pull together, but so rewarding to see my colleagues get what they deserve and really have a lot of collaboration between each other in the district. And that's one thing that I'll absolutely miss the most is the people. We really do have amazing people in the district. In my current role, I get to know every single solitary faculty and staff member. And it's just, we really do have amazing people here in Averill Park.
What other favorite memories or things that we missed? Kathy?
I'm gonna go in with my favorite memory, and I have to tell you this, that prior to being married, my last name was Green, like the color Miss Green. And do you know, on my very first day at George Washington, my 4th grade students each gave me a green carnation. So ever since then, green carnations have been so special to me. But listen to this, when they graduated high school, they came back to George Washington and they presented me with a green carnation. So that has to be one of the best memories that I will always cherish with the green carnations and making me feel so special. I'm gonna miss saying hello to my students in the morning and giving them a fist pump on the way out when they leave. Just those little connections in the morning and at the end of the day, I'm going to miss those.
I can jump in. Like Melissa, I've kind of lived 3 distinct lives in my time at Averill Park as a teacher and as administrator. And actually, working at the elementary level, this is a relatively new tradition, but the senior walkthrough is just something so special for elementary folks. We just had it on Friday. It's a short period of time. It's about a 15 to 30 minute, experience. But the graduating seniors are just, their smiles they're so happy, and the joy amongst the staff to see these kids come back and they're adults now. And it's just an amazing experience. And again, that's probably one of the things that I'll hold on to long after I've left.
So I have a lot of different memories. It's just trying to figure out which ones, but just working with the people I've worked with and those memories. And I guess one of them that just happened, this is tough. This year, meeting a student has a lot of needs at home, and I had brought a lot of clothes in for their family, and I finally met her, and it was kind of nice to meet her and talk to her, and every once in a while I'll go to Walmart and buy her something and bring it in, so that's been nice.
All right, I guess the problem with this one for me is that when you get to this age, the memory's not quite as sharp.
Yeah.
as it used to. But there's been so many over the times. I guess the one for me would be 2006 graduating class, when we took the first girls basketball team to the regionals, and that group of seniors, we had 10 seniors that year. We called them the Fab 10. They're just an amazing group of girls. And then getting to see them come back and, visit at other games every year and bring all their kids. And what am I going to miss? I guess the kids. That's the one reason that kept me here all these years. So that's the one thing I'll miss.
Definitely going to miss many of the staff members and friends that I've made here. I eat lunch up in Tracy Ferlito's room every day, the group I eat lunch with, and I would be wrong if I didn't mention how much I'm going to miss Zach and Nate and Scott. We get along fabulously. We have a great department, and we really enjoy each other's company. So that's going to be a hard group to step away from.
Well, and I'm going to miss getting up and coming to work at 6 o'clock in the morning in the same building as my wife for the last 26 years. So sorry. We've got another 8 years to go.
There was so much love in your voice there, Bray. We could really feel that.
You could feel it.
Hey, Jim, I just want to add, it's also really amazing when like former students become employees, teachers, teacher aides. That's really an awesome experience. And I also just want to mention the colleagues that we've lost throughout the time that we've been here. They've been so impactful and influential, I know, on my life. So definitely the relationships, and particularly for those who are no longer with us.
Thank you, all of you. Those are great memories and things I think that really speak to why people get into education and then stay in for so long. Those connections and those families and those things beyond the ABCs, right? Those relationship piece. So now that you have all this wisdom and knowledge, what advice do you have for folks who are just starting out in their careers? What would you tell them if you had a chance to talk to all of our either aspiring teachers or new teachers? What would you give? What advice would you give them? Kathy, why don't you start on this one?
Some real world advice would be make sure you have a sweater or a jacket on your chair. So in case it gets cold in the classroom or you have to go outside, you're prepared. Make sure you have a roll of Bounty paper towels in your classroom. I love Bounty because if you have a spill, you can't use those paper towels that they give us. You have to be able to use something that's gonna pick it up. I would say that before you leave school at night, make sure you are set for the following day. Make sure you have your lessons set. Make sure your classroom is clean and neat, tidy. Make sure that you have everything copied so you're not coming in the morning and, dashing around quickly because, if what happens when you rush, And probably the last piece of advice would be the relationships with kids. Make sure you let your students know that you have their back. Make sure you do it. Make sure you say it. And it's amazing that if you tell them that you have their back, after a while, they're going to say, well, I have your back too. And they actually will. So that's my little bit of real world advice.
Great advice. Thank you. Melissa, what do you have for advice?
I think going back to the technology piece, I am grateful that I began my teaching career in a time where there was not the internet to look for resources. I see a lot of our newer teachers just desperately holding on to Pinterest ideas or something they saw on TikTok or something that they were, ran across their feed. And I think that we oftentimes miss out on the unbelievable resource we have in our colleagues. We have really dedicated and pretty amazing teachers here. And I am so grateful that I had Kathy Benson and Chris Schaefer when I started my career, and really learned so well from them and looked up to them and really kind of hung on every word that they said to me. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Rather than seeking advice from people you don't know on the internet, we have those tried and true, steadfast people here that are just really so full of advice and knowledge that's what I would suggest to them.
I'm going to jump in.
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely.
Back to what Kathy said, be prepared. I've worked years enough in the copy room with our copier that if you don't get it down there in enough time to get it copied, the copier goes down, and that our copier has been down more than it's been up this year. And you won't be ready for the next morning, and you'll be scrambling around trying to get your copies made and be able to have your class all set up and ready to go. So be ready and get that down there, because those copiers, they don't care. They go down when they want to go down. And the other thing is, treat your office staff nicely. Because the nicer you treat them, the nicer they'll treat you.
And custodians, Lorna. I'd throw it in.
And custodians too.
Staff and custodians.
Oh, yep, custodians too. Yeah, should treat everybody nice, but that's a good one too.
Mhm.
How about our two folks at Grafton, Bray and Ann? What do you got for advice?
Well, first advice, I would tell them to think about their future. A lot of times new teachers coming in don't think about retirement. So I would highly encourage them to hit up for their 403B immediately, because they're not going to miss that once they start working. So that's really very important. I wish someone had directed me in that route earlier on. Also, listen to your students. Sometimes those students that are hardest to love are the ones that need your love the most. So it's really important to you to not always judge their behavior as being rotten kids, as perhaps maybe their behavior stemmed from something else. So it's very important to keep that in perspective when you are working with students of different abilities or from different backgrounds.
All right, I've got two things. First of all, get on the bandwagon to fix Tier 6, because if they don't fix Tier 6, you should get out and run while you can. Nobody can do this job for 42 or 43 years and be effective at it. And secondly, find something besides just teaching in the classroom that you enjoy doing that benefits the district, that works with the kids, whether it's a club, a sport, a musical group, whatever, and get involved. Because there are so many extra things that make you valuable and make you enjoy your time here besides just sitting in the classroom and teaching all day.
And I want to add something to what Bray just said. Make sure you go to other things. Go to sporting events. Go to the musicals. Go to the art shows. It is important for the kids when you show up, and they do notice when you show up, just as much as they notice those that aren't showing up. So it's really important to make sure you're totally in.
Good advice. Denis.
Yeah, so I guess I would say to aspiring teachers, first and foremost, as Ann said, think about your future. Stay in the classroom. Don't aspire to be an administrator. The joy is in the classroom. I'm just kidding about that, but the joy is truly in the classroom. And I guess I would just say never undervalue the importance of relationships. With students, like Kathy said, with colleagues, like Lorna said, just with families, with everything. I mean, really, I could piggyback on everything everybody said. I knew nothing about wrestling. When I was the middle school assistant principal, I used to go to the wrestling matches. I've never been in a space with so much energy. It was amazing. And I used to go when I didn't have to go, just because of the energy that was in the room and in the space. So definitely, stay in the classroom, but also expand your horizon beyond the classroom, as the folks said, because it's truly a community and a family, and you might as well enjoy every aspect of it.
All right. So now that we've talked about your careers and your advice and what got you here, what's next? What's next for this group of people as you exit the stage? What do we have in the future? Lorna, what are your plans?
Well, Well, I know what my plan, I don't know if you all know, but I took 6 years and got my culinary degree while working full time. And my plan is to open a home-based gluten-free bakery. So it's going to take a few months, but we're going to get it there. And if it was up to Kevin, I'd have a food truck. So I told him when he can finance that, we'll go ahead and do that. But yes, that's my plan, and just to enjoy not having to get up at 5 o'clock every morning.
Bray and Ann, how about you two? What are your plans after here?
Well, after here, my husband and I built a home in Florida, so we'll probably be snowbirds. We have a camper up north in Saratoga County that we'll stay in the summertime. Spending a lot of time with my 2 grandkids. One lives in North Carolina and one lives in Florida, and possibly traveling and just enjoying playing pickleball, golf, and relaxing, reading, whatever I want to do.
Wow, that sounds nice, but I'm too young to retire like that. So, I've got a couple plans. One is to keep working my concession business that I run in the summertime. So, Lorna, it's a good thing to know you got that culinary degree. I didn't know. I've got a couple other bigger business adventures that are in the works. We'll see how they turn out. But in the meantime, I got to work on catching up on 20 years of home projects that I haven't been doing that I should have been doing.
Well, we all know Bray and how busy
And
he
have
is.
the puppies, too.
So he won't be sitting even for a minute, so.
Very good. Denis, how about you?
Again, my retirement's a little bit later than most of the folks here. I'm retiring in February, but we've got both of my children are getting married over the course of the next year, so that's exciting. My son lives just outside of Boston. My daughter lives in Montana, so it's a little bit of a travel to visit them, but we'll be doing a lot of that. And I have hobbies for every season of the year. Winter's my favorite season, so I'm looking forward to being able to go skiing on a Tuesday, and just pursuing and enriching those hobbies.
Very nice. Kathy, what happens after post and kill?
After post and kill, well, I'm going to stop and smell the roses. Finally, I'm going to just breathe a little bit, enjoy life. I have a few trips planned. I want to go see Hamilton down in Broadway. And I've always been inspired by J.K. Rowling with the Harry Potter series. So I would love to go down to Universal and see Harry Potter World. And one thing that I'm dying to do is to visit Ireland and kiss the Blarney Stone. Wink, wink to my students, because we always talk about the Blarney Stone on St. Patrick's Day. And I have 2 daughters, 2 lovely daughters. One is 24, one is 27, and I really can't wait to spend more time with them. And hopefully my husband will retire soon, because he is the love of my life, and I can't wait to spend more time with him.
Outstanding. And Melissa for the wrap up.
I don't feel like my work in education is done. I'm not exactly sure what path I will take. I was lucky enough to work with Matt Haladin on a furniture project at the middle and high school, and that's learning spaces have always been a passion. So I'm considering pursuing that. Got a couple other ideas. Not totally sure. I do know I'll be traveling and spending more time with my family.
Outstanding. Well, thank you, everyone. I know it's a busy time of year here as we record this in mid-June, for taking some time with us. Thank you, more importantly, for your years and years and years of service and dedication to our students and our families. And enjoy your last few days in the district. Well, except for you, Denis. And you got a little bit longer. The rest of you, your last few days. And in all seriousness, thank you for all you have done for Averill Park. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. See you next time on Every Student, Every Day.